Hello children, we are starting with a chapter that is coordinate geometry. This is chapter number 3 of standard 9. Let us begin with the introductory part. Let us first of all try to understand what coordinate geometry is. So now if I ask the question, what is coordinate geometry? Then it is the study of geometry using coordinate system. So let us see what this coordinate system is. Now, exactly in front of your eyes, what you can see is a plane. This plane is known as a Cartesian plane or a coordinate plane. Now, this is x-axis, that is the horizontal axis. You have 0 somewhere in between. On the right hand side, they are the positive numbers, so it is the positive x part, x-axis, and on the left side it is the negative part, so it is the negative x-axis. This is a horizontal line. Similarly, we can have a vertical line also. You have a 0 somewhere in between. Above it you have the positive numbers, that is the positive y-axis, and below 0 you have the negative part, that is the negative y-axis. Y-axis is always a vertical one. Now again you have a Cartesian plane. Any plane can be considered here. This is the x-axis and you have the perpendicular y-axis. They are intersecting at a point. This point of intersection is shown as O or 0 and it is called as origin. Now you have once again the xy axis, x the horizontal one and y the vertical one. You have the origin 0. Now when you draw such a pair of axes, that is x-axis and y-axis, the entire plane gets divided into 4 parts. Quadrant 1, which is on the right hand side above the x-axis. Then you have quadrant 2, it is on the left hand side of the y-axis and above the x-axis. Then you have quadrant 3, which is on the left of y but below x-axis. And finally you have quadrant 4, which is on the right hand side of the y-axis but below the x-axis. So whichever plane you have, if you draw the x and the y-axis, the entire plane gets divided into 4 parts and they are named as quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. We use the word quadrant. Quadra means 4. Because it is divided into 4 parts, they are named as quadrant. Let us study about certain important points. To locate the position of an object or a point in a plane, we require 2 perpendicular lines. With the help of these 2 perpendicular lines and the values which are on it, we can locate the position of any point or an object if it lies somewhere on the plane. One of them is horizontal, that is the x-axis, and the other one is vertical, that is the y-axis. The plane is called the Cartesian plane or the coordinate plane and the lines are called coordinate axis. So now henceforth we are going to call the x and the y-axis as coordinate axis. The horizontal line is x-axis and the vertical line is y-axis. The coordinate axis divides the plane into 4 parts and they are called as quadrants. The point of intersection of the two axes is called origin. So all these things we have just now gone through. Now the topic is locating points in Cartesian plane. So you have a Cartesian plane and you have a point A. If I want to find out the location of the point, I have to draw perpendiculars from the point to the x and y axis. Then we find out the location of the point from the y and the x axis and we write the coordinate of it. Now the perpendicular from A on x axis reaches the point 3. So its x coordinate is 3. We always write the x coordinate first. Then we draw the perpendicular from A to the y axis and it reaches 2 in this case. So the second number is written as 2, which is called as the y coordinate. Every point can be represented like this on the Cartesian plane. Take point anywhere on the Cartesian plane. To locate it, you have to draw the first perpendicular on the x-axis. Note the point, then draw the another perpendicular on the y-axis. Again note the point. Enclose it always in a bracket. This is how we find out the location of the plane. These are also known as the coordinates of the point. Now we have certain points which are already placed and we are supposed to find out the coordinates. Now we'll go by the method. Here if I am starting with point I, so I'll draw the first perpendicular from I to the x-axis and we have reached the point 4. So the first number to be noted is 4, comma. The next is from I to the point to the y-axis and it reaches 3. So the next number that I have to write is 3. We always enclose it in a bracket because it is an ordered pair, that is x to be written first and y to be written later. Now we can say the location of the point I is 4, 3. The most important part here is there is no other point on this plane which will have this location 4:3. The location or the coordinate of each and every point is unique. Unique because it is only for it, no other point can be represented by the same numbers or the same coordinates. Let us try few more. Say I want to get the location or the coordinate of point D. So the first perpendicular will be always made from D on x-axis. So it has reached -2, comma. The next perpendicular from D to y-axis and it has reached -4. So the coordinate of D is -2, -4. This is how we get the coordinates of each and every point. Now if I consider one more point, that is E. My first perpendicular has to be on x-axis. But here point E itself is on x-axis. So its location will be the point where it lies. So it is minus 3 here, comma. Now I have to draw one perpendicular on the y-axis. So if I draw a perpendicular from E to y-axis, it reaches 0. So the next number to be noted down is 0. And the coordinate of point E will be minus 3 comma 0. This is the method of finding out the coordinates of any point which lies on the coordinate axis. I hope you can try others. Now let us study more about their locations. Now if I consider the point 3, 4. Now here both x and y coordinates are positive. And the point lies in the first quadrant. So we can say that any number in the first quadrant is represented as plus plus. They will be both positive. Now if I move to the second quadrant, it is minus comma plus. So any point which lies in the second quadrant will have its x coordinate as a negative and the y coordinate as positive. For the third quadrant, it is both negative. Whereas if I study the fourth quadrant, the first number is positive and the second one is negative. That means x coordinate is positive and the y coordinate is negative. Further, if I am talking about a point which lies on x-axis, it will have its x coordinate as a number and its y coordinate will always be 0. This is because if I draw a perpendicular from the point on the y-axis, it will reach at 0. It is this way, reaching 0. Now let us consider a point which is on y-axis. For it will have the y coordinate as the point where it lies, but its x coordinate will be 0 because if I draw a perpendicular on the x-axis, it will reach the origin, that is 0. So we have learnt a lot about the placement of the points on the Cartesian plane or the coordinate plane and the sign conventions for them. Let us proceed further. Let's read about certain important points. The perpendicular distance from the point from y-axis is called x-coordinate or abscissa. X-coordinate is also known as abscissa. The perpendicular distance of a point from x-axis is called y-coordinate or ordinate. So, the x-coordinate has another name, that is abscissa, and the y-coordinate has another name, that is ordinate. If the abscissa of a point is x and ordinate of the point is y, then x, y are coordinates of a point. As told earlier, x coordinate is always written first, followed by y coordinate. The coordinates of a point on x-axis are of the form x, 0. So it will have its x coordinate, but its y coordinate will be 0. The coordinates of a point on the y-axis are of the form 0, y, that is, its x coordinate will be 0, whereas it will have its y coordinate. The coordinates of origin is 0, 0. Quadrant 1, both x, y are positive. This we have already seen. Quadrant 2, x is negative, y is positive. Quadrant 3, both x and y are negative, whereas quadrant 4, x is positive and y is negative. Now we have studied a lot about the basic things of coordinate system. We are going to use all these concepts to solve the examples in the coming videos. Till then, thank you. Goodbye.